All right, everybody, welcome back to a new week of trading here in the stock market. I just got back yesterday from Great Wolf Lodge, so spent a lot of money on the girls over the weekend. Hopefully, we'll try and make some of that back this week. Overall, a bit of a slower day. Did get about 4 trades in, but all smaller. So stacking them up, we'll see what happened today. Let's trade. All right, first trade was here on MRVL. This did hit on the scanner, although it's not showing right now because it hit and then it went down below 14, which was where some of these other ones were at. So it's not showing up now currently, but that is why I have it up here because I did see it starting to hit there a little bit. So watching this one as it goes up towards 60, looking for a little push towards 60 here, seeing what it can do. And we're going to go ahead and get this one started here at 59.80s. Once it pushes up through the 59.80s, looking for a start here in MRVL. There it is. There's the start, and I'm going to look for an ad here if it gets up through the 60 mark. So watch it for 60 here on MRVL. So looking for the push up through 60 here. Can we get that move here finally on MRVL after about a minute or so? Just kind of watching it as it does get up through 60, and I'm like, okay, it's through 60, but it wasn't that great of a pop, so I'm going to wait just a minute longer here, see if it can get up a little bit higher for a better fill here on the first ad on MRBL. So there's a nice little pop there as it gets up into the 30s. I go ahead and get in an ad there at 60.25. So now 200 shares short at 60.40 here on MRBL. And we'll see what it wants to do with the rest of its morning here. So fortunately for me, it does decide to start turning over, and I definitely could have done a better job holding this one, but I go ahead and take 75% off right there as it moves back down under 59.90, and then I'm looking for the other 50 down below 59.60. This was actually my best setup of the day, and you know, it's a Monday, you just want to start the week with a green trade, so there's probably a bit of that in there, but definitely could have done a better job overall of holding this. You know, another 10 seconds would have been below both entries there for a good partial, and that would have been fine, but I am looking for 59.60 here on the final. I put them out, get the fill. So a small win to start the week there of $45 or so on MRBL, and we'll move on, see if we can't find something else in the morning. So NKTX, this one was the stock of the day, I guess, and I'm watching it here as it pops up towards the 50s. I go ahead and put 50 shares out. I thought I was getting it up actually above the 50s, but I guess the spread was crazy, and I end up getting 50 shares short at 15.32. So a little bit lower than I would have liked there on this NKTX short, but I also wanted to take it easy with smaller share size and a pretty nice pop here. So I'm going to wait and see what this one does, and I'm going to go ahead and put all 50 shares out here at 14.90 on NKTX. You know, this one definitely has the potential to go all the way back down to the lows of the days after a pop like that. You can see right before that it was just kind of hanging out on lows of the day with no volume, and then it got that big volume surge candle and popped up to above the 1550s. So, you know, but this thing could also easily give another big volume surge candle as it does later in the day. I'm sure you all saw, and go against me here a bit more, which obviously I'm ready for that with only the 50 share starter. But if it does get down towards that 1490 level, I'm going to be happy to take the money there and move on. So all 50 shares sitting out there at 1490. It's moving down towards 15 here, gets about right to it, and then it starts popping up a little bit. So I'm like, okay, if we do get the move down through 15 now, I should be good to go here with this 1490 order, no problem. So, and you know, 1510s, it's getting hung up there for a second, but it's going to start coming back down towards the 15s, and it's pushing down towards the 15s, 1503, 1501, and then it immediately pops down through and gets me the fill there for a small win on NKT. Excuse me, X. All right, next trade of the day is on BERU. This one is kind of a popper from last week, and I did have to get some locates on this one, but they weren't too expensive. They were a dollar something per 100, and I ended up borrowing 200 shares. So, you know, just call it $3, $4, something like that on the locates that I had to pay to short the 200 shares that I end up using here in BRU. So watching it here as it pops up into the 1280s, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and start my first 100. I actually had to wait just a second there for the shares to confirm being bought on the locates, and then I go ahead and get short 100 shares at 1284, and I'm going to look for a nice pop now through 13 before we add in again. And you're going to need to see a decent little pop through 13 for me to add in. Don't want it just a penny over because I'm only 16 cents below on the first entry here on VERU. So unfortunately this thing gets a little bit slow, so I had put an order out there just in case it would come back down, but instead it wanted to keep going, so I decided to add in there up at 1321. So now I have 200 shares short at 1303, and we'll see what those can do. It does start coming down this time, and I'm like, okay, if we get down towards the 1290s, I will probably take 75% or 150 shares off. It gets down to 1290 like immediately there. I'm like, okay, under 1290, that's going to be my spot for the 75%. Click the button, get the fill there. I have 50 shares left, and we'll see if those can work their way down. Ideally, that's what will happen, but VERU wanted to keep popping, and I still have 150 shares now that have been recycled that I can still use here on the short side that I've already paid for. You don't have to pay for them again. So as it pops up here, I go ahead and add 50 more in at 1340, and I now have 100 short at 1331. Now here is where I actually end up making a mistake, and it ends up helping me out. So you can see here it's gone basically dead sideways now for the last 10 minutes after refilling there up to 100 shares. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, if this thing comes up over the highs, I will look to go ahead and stop this thing out at 1261. So I go to, and you'll see it here, I move my cursor into the stop order box there, get it down to 100 shares, and then I put it up to 61, but I don't pay attention that it said 1261, so it automatically fills me on the stop out there, and I'm down $2. But that ended up actually helping me on this trade, because you can see that literally a minute or two later, VERU decides it wants to make its best run of the day yet. So VERU now going to start popping up towards 14 off of the 1350s, which is a nice 50-cent move on a $13 stock. So we're going to see what it does here as it starts getting another surge here, starts pushing up towards that 14 level. Can I get it up through 14? Because now it's actually making the best move that it's made today so far. So I'm like, all right, if we get through 14 here, I'll look to restart with my 100 shares, and now that stop out by accident has saved me a few dollars on the initial trade there on VERU. So let's push them towards 14 here. There's through, and I get the short there at 1405, 100 shares. And this time I decide that because I've been watching it now and it's kind of been making these moves with little pullbacks and then bursting out again, I'm just going to put the whole thing out at 1380, take a quick $25 on that one, and at least be making money on VERU if it wants to come back to the downside here. So there's my order out at 1380, comes down to it pretty much immediately, and it's going to get me all out here for a $25 gain, which gets me to plus 23 at least, so a small gain there. NKTX, this one actually popped again while I was editing. Made another $20 here on it. You can see the pop there on the end, another 50 shares. Took 40 cents out of the 50 shares. And so we're up 108 to finish the day. So, you know, nothing that I was really loving today, but, you know, still able to make a little bit of money. And good way to start the week. Hopefully the rest of the week will be a little bit better, and we'll make some more trades. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe. I will see you later.